start back, gon' set it up. Dance with the devil, we gon' heat it up. Back from beyond, you gon' find out what it mean to me to go. Coming back from beyond, find out what it mean to me to go. Coming back from beyond, now begin what's on. Against all odds, I'ma get that, bring that on. Go and tell me where they at. Against all odds, I'ma do this, standing in the way. I think you better move. Against all odds, I'ma do this, you in the way. I think you better move. Against all odds, I'ma do this, you in the way. I think you better move. Against all odds.
Everybody, welcome to Defying the Odds, and I'm your host, Higgy. If you guys are catching us live, the live button will be right here. Drop a hashtag live. Let us know where you're watching from. If this button is not there, you're catching the replay. Drop a hashtag replay. Defying the Odds is my attempt to create a ripple effect of positivity, hope, and inspiration in our recovery community by sharing inspirational testimonies of people that have overcome life's seemingly insurmountable odds to have and live a life of purpose and destiny. And tonight is no different. I have a great guest tonight for you. Defying the Odds is powered by No More Heroin, 501c3 nonprofit, my nonprofit. All proceeds from the streamings is coming from the stars or donations goes directly to No More Heroin for sober living scholarships and essentials for those individuals leaving treatment to have a leg up in getting back to the real world, get them started on a positive track. And tonight I have a great guest, Jared Blaine Quijada, I believe I'm saying his name correctly, is the host and creator of The Blacklist. I'm gonna bring Jared on right now. What's up, my brother?
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me.
Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did, but that's why I don't ever use my last name, is because it's so hard to pronounce. That's why I go by Jared Blaine. But to be verified, you got to have your legal name on there. So unfortunately, that's the way it is. But you're right, Jared Quijada.
Fantastic. I choose to go by Higgy because I hate saying Robin Higginbotham.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. So
well, I got to find out if there's a way around the whole being verified without having to have like your name from your driver's license. I don't know about all that, but
legally change your name.
Yeah, it's true. That is very true.
Kathy Holt, it's good to see you. Georgia in the house. Thank you,
hey,
Kathy, for all the support and always sharing the content that we create. It's good to see you in the comments. So where are you coming to us from right now?
Western New York. So
Western New York.
New York, about an hour and a half from Canada.
Wow. How close to PA?
About 45 minutes to an hour to the border.
Not bad, huh?
Well, it's not bad at all. I'm pretty centralized to a lot of stuff. I'm an hour from Rochester, hour from Buffalo, 2 hours from Syracuse, and then if I want to go down south to like PA and whatnot, it's like 45 minutes to an hour to reach there.
That's awesome.
And then we're 5.5 hours from New York City. So
I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with The Blacklist for the name for your podcast? I love the TV show.
Yeah. So the funny thing was I'll be honest with you, when I started that, didn't even know the TV show existed. But I racked my name, I racked my brain for a long time. I'm like, man, what should I name it? I sat on the idea for like 2 years before I even pulled the trigger on it. But at the end of the day, it was more of I called it the Blacklist Podcast because of we wanted to talk about things that society wanted to sweep under the rug. When it came to whether that be sexual abuse, religion, domestic violence, addiction, recovery, mental health, and essentially all those things are blacklisted. We're not supposed to talk about those things, and so I was like, you know what? Like I kind of told you earlier today, like I'm a whole 100% transparent person, and I have a platform that is transparency and that is authentic. So let's call it the Blacklist Podcast, and of course I spelt it with the A because like I knew that they had the Blacklist, but I didn't know it was a TV show and all that good stuff. So then they already had like the Blacklist Exposed. I saw that, but I didn't really know about So fun fact about that on a side note is we were talking about Ashes to Awesome. So Chuck LaFlange messaged me one day and he goes, "Dude, I just spent an hour watching the Blacklist Exposed." He goes, "And here I am halfway into it thinking it was yours." And he goes, "And it was the TV show or something."
Oh.
So I was like, "Yeah, you gotta ours is with a K, not a C." So,
Correct, correct. So I we're streaming on my platforms, my personal page, Robin Higginbotham with a blue check, Defying the Odds, my new Facebook page, and my YouTube channel, Defying the Odds with Higgy. We're also streaming to your platforms.
yeah,
Where we stream from.
uh the Blacklist Facebook page and the Blacklist Podcast YouTube page.
Very nice.
Boston, what is up,
There's
Boston?
Boston.
I
What's up,
love
Boston?
Boston. Boston's an amazing guy. He's been on. Have you talked to him yet?
I've not talked to him directly.
Yeah,
I've known about him, known of him for
yeah.
several years.
He's a good
That
guy.
was a long time ago. Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
yeah.
I'm glad he was able to get his book out. He was
Mhm.
talking about it
Yeah.
like
No, Boston's a
six
good
years
guy.
ago.
It's 6 years ago,
Good.
man. Well, he's doing good now between all the shows he's been on and whatnot. So
I'm glad. I'm happy.
yeah,
I'm glad to see any of us doing well. You know what I
absolutely,
mean?
absolutely.
What's up, Dina?
I
So the
do
reason
know.
I why I like doing lives is because of the interaction with the comments and whatnot.
Hmm.
Over the years, a lot of people have become friends. People
Yeah.
reach out for help in the comments. It's good to get that live interaction, and it creates a sense of community. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping to introduce my audience to your audience, and we can support each other going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started when we first started this, it was live. Everything was live. There was no pre-recorded. But then I just kind of found it was a little hard for people to want to be available to do lives at times and whatnot. And so then we kind of just went to pre-recorded because people, a lot of people too are also they're afraid they're gonna mess up or say the wrong thing, especially live. And
Mhm.
so we could be, we can have it edited and whatnot. But I did realize though from when we were going live to where we took a break, then we started going to pre-recorded, that traction was just kind of declining because a lot of it was from the live or it was for the viewers. So now we're good though. Like now we do but then we do our weekly Friday night live Black Ash Radio. And so we've noticed though, like over the last couple months of doing it, the same core of people, they're coming in and they're supporting and it's awesome because we get to
Yes,
interact. So we gotta start doing it
that's
more.
awesome. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just getting started. I think this is my 12th episode. So thank you for taking the time to do this. You had me on your podcast a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it was a great experience. So
Yeah.
if y'all would please follow the Blacklist, followed Jared on his personal and professional pages as well. So with the podcast, what are you doing with it? Who are you interviewing? What is the goal and the mission
Mhm.
of the podcast?
So the goal and the mission in the beginning, well, in the beginning, I just wanted to be, man, I wanted to help people. Like I wish I would have had, 5 years ago when I thought about, when I first got sober, there wasn't that many, I mean, hardly any recovery based podcasts. And so I just wanted to share my experience with other people. Then I was like, let's go ahead and share other people's experiences on there. And so we've had the opportunity to have people from, Sonia Johnson, the Kalichi, to Joe Nestor. We've had a couple people from reality TV on there that deal with mental health but again, it's not just influencers, like it's just the everyday person as well. Yeah, we have a lot more influencers than we do regular people, but that's not by choice. That's just because that's the way that it's flowing in. But
Sure.
I have plenty where they're just Joe that works the 9 to 5 and they just want to share their personal recovery. And I let them know though at the end of the day that it doesn't matter. Um, it doesn't it doesn't matter if you have a following or not. Like your story is your story. I'll reach out to people like, hey, I'd love to have you on, and they're like, but I don't have the following like half the people that you've had on. I said, I don't care about that.
It's
I
the
don't care.
story,
It's
man.
the story
It's the
because guess what?
story.
At the end of the day, your story may be the one thing that that one person needs to hear. Compared to, somebody that has 2 million followers, and that's what I try to, that's what I try to push in people's minds is I don't care about the following. I don't care about the clout. I don't care about all I care about is
The
quality over
message.
quantity. Exactly, the message. And so that's what
Hey,
we
big
do.
mate.
And
Love you.
then and then we just, we're a small platform, but we're obviously doing some big stuff. We were dropping 2 times a week. I just recently had to make the executive decision for the next few months to go back to one time a week because I was mentally draining myself. I was burning myself out trying to edit 2 episodes a week to release. We record 4 times a week, doing a weekly Friday night live. So already right there, we're doing something 7 days a week, and it was just draining me. And so I
Absolutely.
finally had to just be like, listen, I have to take a break. Like I'm gonna do one
Plus, you're
episode a
like
week.
me. We work full-time jobs as well,
And I work a full-time job, yep, just like you, and I
and try
probably
to
work
have
a
a
good
life
60
and
plus hours.
relationships.
And that's the thing, like, even though Brianna does the podcast with me, like, even though we're doing this together, that's not quality time that we're spending together, like, that's work, so us trying to, like, maintain our home life and our relationship with everything else, it's just, now if we did it full time, 100%, we could all day long, but until that happens, it's what we're doing. And so now I did realize though I had to take my step back and just work on it. Dina says self-care is everything. Absolutely. Uh,
Self-care for sure.
You have to
For
be
sure.
selfish in your own recovery as well as your own self-care and whatnot. And so that's what I'm doing. Instead of pumping out content, for it's just because if I keep doing that, I'm gonna burn myself out and I'm just gonna like not want to do it in general. So gotta
Been
do what
there,
you gotta
done
do.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we got to take care of ourselves, and I will say that I'm of the same thinking as you. I really believe that our stories are the only real weapon we have in fighting the stigma of addiction,
Hmm.
mental illness, trauma, suicide awareness, all these things. So
Yep.
I'm with you on that, Andrea. We love Joe Nestor around here too.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, Joe's an awesome guy, amazing guy. Um, it's funny because you see these people on one standpoint from them, speaking and doing their music and all that, but then you get to sit them down on a screen and just spend a genuine hour with them, and we're just like, wow, like there's a whole nother level to these people, and it's amazing because they're just human beings just like us that have been given that gift, that they're using. But Kalichi, Joe Nestor, Logan Bruce, Matt Keegan, all these guys, they're amazing. All these guys are amazing.
They're truly gifted,
They
and
are.
the message they have is relevant and pertinent to
Yeah.
what we deal with every day, in our community.
We're dropping tomorrow we're dropping an episode. So now we're going to we were Mondays and Fridays dropping. Now we're just gonna for the next few months drop every Friday. So we're
Okay.
dropping Lyman Good, and he is a UFC pro UFC fighter. He This guy is just is a beast. And so his episode's dropping tomorrow. Very emotional episode. It was super emotional, but it was almost a 2 hour episode. But this guy, he's doing some stuff. So but it's really cool because we're getting to break into the field of like MMA fighters and UFCs and whatnot, and people that are in a male dominant sport to see them break down and literally just be able to be on a platform just to be able to be human like that's the coolest thing about it.
I what I really I love the fact that these individuals that have celebrity status, if you will,
Mhm.
are speaking out and are vocal about their struggles with mental illness,
Mhm.
addiction. They've seen a lot of tragedy in their lives too, and they use their platforms to raise awareness. There's a lot of
Yeah.
musicians coming out as well,
Mhm.
actors, politicians, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And we need those people. And some people are against us paying attention to celebrities, but when they use their platform for good,
Yeah.
that's a powerful, powerful, powerful thing, and it speaks to the the quality of the character that they have as well, because they
Yeah.
can do anything that they want, right?
Yep. Yeah, they could do anything they want, but they use their platforms, because they know what it's like. And so, they know what it's like. They know what it feels like to be at the bottom of the barrel, and the fact that and so it's awesome that they are able to use their platform to be able to spread that awareness. And then not only using their platform, but they're coming onto other people's platforms sharing the same thing. And it's just cool because it's not like this whole competition thing. It's like we're all doing the same thing at the end of the day. And it's cool because, like, me and you and Hard Knocks and Chuck and Ashdod, like, all of us we can, like, have the same people rotate through and whatnot. And it's never like who can have the bigger guest. It's just like cool, like, you have somebody that we just had, bro,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Like, and then somebody else and somebody else. And it's never a
Yes,
competition type thing.
it
Um
should never be a competition.
Unfortunately, there's some bad apples, but that's the way life is. But
Yeah,
we got a solid, tight knit recovery community out here.
and we shared this between ourselves when I did my podcast. Any guests that I have that you feel be a good fit for you, please feel free to reach out to them. I'll plug you in wherever I can as well.
Yeah, and same for you as well.
That's community right there.
Yeah.
So I want to get into your story. You have a fascinating story. You have a, a story that has depth and has meaning, and it's pertinent to what our community needs to hear. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you to it. Tell us about your background.
All right. It's funny because I do this all the time, and for other people, and when I go to do it for myself, I'm just like, oh man, I hate the spotlight. um, but yeah, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. My mom was 15 when she had me. Um, Congratulations, Andrea, by the way. Just had to give her the shout out for that.
Congratulations.
But my mom was 15 when she was pregnant with me and when she had me. And of course, she's a child herself, and my grandmother wanted her to have an abortion, and because she was a child, and my grandfather wasn't in the picture and whatnot. And but um by the grace of God, obviously she didn't. But I had a troubled childhood. I had a rough childhood. Unfortunately, being with my mom being a child herself, growing up and whatnot, she would be with these guys who were physically abusive and verbally abusive, and I'm either watching her get her herself beat up by this guy, or he's uh, assaulting myself or my brothers and sisters, and that was normal, unfortunately, growing up. I was, how do I put this? I was sexually abused for the first time at 8 years old, um, by a babysitter. And I was introduced to pornography at 8 years old, by my stepfather at that time. Um, I was given my first shot of liquor at 8, my first cigarette, um, by the person that's supposed to be an example for you. My mom would be at work busting her butt, and I got this grown man. This was what he's doing, and so that really messed me up a lot, and didn't realize it till I got older. But so I was introduced to all that stuff at such a young age, and then I was just the typical teen, the typical kid, smoke weed at 11, smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, just um, but things really changed at 13. My stepfather excuse me, I watched my stepfather, fall. It was Mother's Day, and we were on our way back home, and, we're from Arizona, so we stop at this little bridge overpass look, and my stepfather was drunk, and he sat on the edge of a bridge, and he slipped, and I watched him fall 200 feet to
Wow, how
to
traumatic.
the wa yeah, and, like, I locked eyes as he fell, and, I did not know that he had passed. Like, he plunged into the water, and here I am, here, me and my uncle, we leave my mom and we leave everybody, and we jump in the car, and we're like an hour to the closest town. We have no cell phones, no nothing. So we we finally drive an hour to the closest town to call 911, and when we get back, like, there's ambulances and dive teams and cops and everything, and they're like, unfortunately, we can't we haven't found them, and it was nighttime already, and they're like, we're gonna have to do it in the morning. And
Mm.
hear me, I'm like, well, how's he supposed to hold his breath that long? Like, I never processed that he was actually dead,
Sure.
until that moment. So that right there was kind of like what led me into the whole spiral. My mom sent me to live with my aunt in California after that, because I that's where I really, really acted out. That's when I started really smoking and drinking, and it was so, my mom sent me to live with my aunt, my uncle, and I did. I lived with them for a while. I lived with my aunt, my uncle from the time I was 13 to the time I was 18 years old. Um, but Yeah, I was in a motorcycle accident at 16. First day of summer break, broke multiple bones in my body. I was in a wheelchair all summer. That was when I was introduced to opiates. Being fed any type of opiate that I wanted.
Mm.
Coming from surgeries and rehabs and this, that, and the third. And so, but it didn't really it didn't really hit me until I became an adult. Obviously, like my addiction per se. But 16, being fed all that stuff, that's all I wanted. Um,
Mhm.
I got high with my uncle for the first time at 16 years old, smoking weed together, and again, I didn't even know he did any of that until, he pulled me aside one day and was like, "Yo, you know where I can get some weed?" And I'm like, "The hell are you talking about?" So, but it's my uncle, like, and it's weed, but it was just like that's the first time I got high with him, and we had to keep it on the DL from my aunt and whatnot, and so a lot of that was just like sneaking around, hiding everything. But, I got married at a young age. I had my first kid at 19. I got married at 19. My child's mom at that time was 17, and I was 18. And then we had turned I turned 19 right shortly after. And so we only got married because of our child. Her mom was super religious and was like, "Listen, if you're gonna move in together, you got to get married." And so I said, "Well, all right, cool, let's do it." We didn't even think about it. We just did it. So like, we got together because of our child at the end of the day. Um, but anyway, so it's just it was the typical. I mean, my life was okay. There was really no issues, and I'd been off I wasn't abusing opiates even as a teen, as after my accident. Like, I was fed all of it, but I wasn't abusing it. And it wasn't until I was like, I maybe used them for about a year, and then it was from like 17 to like 20 that I didn't use them, and I got hurt at work, and they gave me some, you know, prescription, some perks, and it was like it opened up this whole world for me. It brought back like everything as a teen, like the feeling and everything. I was like, wow.
That that's when that switch flipped, wasn't it?
Yeah, that switch was just like boom. And I was scared. I didn't want to do it. Like, I was like, I don't want to take anything, just because I didn't really like the way that it felt when I was on it as a teen. And so I was always like anti-med, like, don't give me narcotics. Like, I don't want any of that. And and then the doctor was just like, "Listen, I think you're hurt enough to where you need to get something." And so I did, and it just flipped the script for me. And that right there is what opened up a whole battle for, like 10 years.
Pandora's box, huh?
Oh, it's crazy. And, and the crazy thing is, it's kind of jumping around, but the crazy thing is, um, my wife at the time, for those 10 years, did not know that I was on anything. Like, she did not. I was a full functioning addict. I went to work, I had a career. I wasn't one of the sloppy, I wasn't like any of that. And she literally did not know any of that until, like, I finally, we'll get into it, but until I finally had my breaking point. But I was able to fool a lot of people except for my mom. My mom was an opiate addict as well. And I used to get pills from my mom, unfortunately. And she was the only, but she didn't even realize like how bad my addiction was. It was just more of a, like, "Hey mom, can you give me something? I'm hurting, this, that, and the third." Or if I have a script, she'd ask me like, "Hey, can you get something?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." Um,
So you were just uh, abusing pills at that time? Were you
yeah,
mixing?
n- I
Any
never
other?
got no, like, I never got into heroin, I never got into, like, meth, I never got into coke, I never got into any of that. It was, like, opiates, it was pills and fentanyl, like, at the end of the day, like, that's what it was, but I never broke into, like, any of that. I don't know, that wasn't my thing. Like, I was never, like, an upper person, I couldn't deal with that, too much anxiety, caffeine, all that, I couldn't do any of that. So, I was just a downer guy, you give me some oxys, I'm okay. Like, that right there, and but the crazy thing was, like, I could do, like, 2 or 3 30s, and then I could go to work and, like, no problem, like, that gave me energy compared to other people who would take them and just go to sleep, you know? Thank
I
you,
agree
babe.
on it.
Um, let's see, opiates are my device. Yeah, and again, like alcohol, like I drank alcohol, like I would get drunk and whatnot, but like it was never my thing at all. Like alcohol wasn't my vice. The benzos wasn't my vice. Like there was a lot of stuff that wasn't my vice. It was just, um, it was literally
That's
just
what
the
your brain
pills.
chemistry was
Yeah,
geared for.
yeah,
That was the pleasure for you.
yeah, yeah. What's up, Mike Gleam? Oh, I gotta text you back, man. Sorry,
Hey,
it's been
Mike.
crazy. And we've been me and Mike have been back and forth for a hot minute getting him on the show, so, I'll text you back, brother. Um,
It's good to see you, Mike. Mike's going to be my guest in a couple weeks.
nice, nice, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for him to come on ours. We've been back and forth for a good while, so life's been crazy.
He's a good dude. I met him last summer.
Yeah,
Very, very
well, did you go to
solid.
the where at, Warsaw? At the
Yeah,
festival there?
in Indiana.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. You see, and it's crazy because, like, I hate when I share my story because I never feel like I'm, like, structured. It's always I'm always dealing with this with other people, but I never feel like it's with me.
I'm the same way, bro. Don't feel bad. You're
It's like
doing great. You're doing great.
but so I kinda just throw it into it to kind of the turning point and whatnot was, so for the most part, it was just the typical, I go get my oxys, whatnot, do whatever I do. I doctor shopped for a while, unfortunately. How I knew I was starting to get bad was I used to travel for work, and I would be gone 2, 3 weeks at a time. And what I would end up doing is going and making up an excuse to go to the emergency room to get shot up with like Dilaudid or morphine or something. Like I knew I played the part, like, I would tell them, I would be like, "So, I'm gonna do appendicitis," or I'm gonna say, that I have, back pain, but then at the end of the day, like, I know they're gonna test for this, that, and the third. So for me, I'll tell you this is a crazy story about my doctor shopping. I got my appendix removed when it didn't need to get removed because I went to the hospital so many times claiming that I had appendicitis that they finally took it out. So so
That's
what
some
I used
extreme measures, my friend.
no. So what I used to do
Hey,
was
Johnny.
what I used to do was I would go in and I would say, "All right, I have I think I have kidney stone or well, I had to start using different excuses once my appendix came out. But I would just tell them, I tell them I'm allergic to I'm allergic to Tylenol or I'm allergic to ibuprofen. So they had to give me like a narcotic. I tell them, my throat swells up or whatever, and then,
Manipulation at its finest.
yeah, so then I would literally go in and like I would like if I was going for a kidney stone, I knew they're gonna test my urine. I cut my end of my finger with the razor blade and I drip it into my urine sample. So when they go to do the test, they're like, "Well, it shows nothing on your CT scan. However, you got blood in your urine, so you must have passed it." And then they would give me a script. So, like, and I'm not condoning anything, but it's just
We're not giving anybody ideas
we're
either.
not, we're not. But I went to this one hospital multiple times for my appendix, um, claiming I had appendicitis, and finally one day, every time they would CT me, they'd shoot me up with drugs, CT, and send me out. Oh, there's nothing. So finally, he came back in one day and he goes, "All right, we're gonna tomorrow morning go into surgery. We're gonna take your appendix out." And I'm like, "Really?" Like I was shocked. And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you've been in here like 8 times for the same thing, and we don't find anything every time. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove your appendix because it's obviously giving you a problem." So they took my appendix out.
Thanks, Doc.
Like,
Took out a
who does
perfectly
that?
good organ.
Who does that? But when I sit back and I look at these things, I'm like, who the hell does that? Who who goes and gets their dang organ removed just so they can get drugs? And then what? So I have a surgery and what? You're gonna give me what? 4 or 5 days worth of Percocet? Really?
Yeah, and take away your excuse.
And take now I have to come up with another excuse?
Start
So
slamming your fingers in the door and stuff.
listen, man, been there, done that. I'm not proud of it, but I'm just saying there's
Yeah, it's what we do. It's our
it's what we
behavior.
do. Anyway, so I just started realizing like after all of that, they're like, wow, I got a problem. Like I got a problem. Like when I'm traveling on the road and I'm working 10, 12 hours, instead of me going home or to the hotel room and wanting to like relax in the bathtub and and then go and watch TV, I choose to go sit in the ER for 6 hours just so I can get shot up for what? A couple hours worth of a fix.
Wow.
So it was just that's just the way that my life was, unfortunately. Um Anyways, I remember, this was starting to get to a point where, I was blacklisted from the hospitals. Unfortunately, I was red flagged. I couldn't get a scripts anymore. I had to resort to going off the streets, and I was introduced to a certain organization from through a family member, and it was just me led to just buy. Hey, you know what? You have X, Y, and Z, you got 30s or this, that, or the third. And that's just the way it was. But after a while, I was asked, do you want to make some money? And I'm like, well, how much money? And they give
You're
me a
talking about
dollar.
organized crime?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then they just be like, they hand me a phone. Says no longer will you go through so and so. You're going to go through me directly now. Anytime you need to re up, anytime you need anything, call me directly or text me. So, because before for like a good month, I would just call up my family member and I would just say, "Hey, I need you to because these are the type of people that you can't just show up at their house. Like you have to be brought there by somebody who is known with them." So,
Sure.
I remember the first time that I went over there, he forgot to tell them I was coming over, so he knocked on the door and they opened the door and he walked in and I walked in right after and they literally pulled me with my shirt, threw me against the wall, and I had two people with guns pointed at me. And they're like, "Who the hell is this?" And he's like, "No, no, no, that's no, that's family. He's good." So that's the thing, like you just don't show up unannounced. But I was cool. I dealt with it. I handled it, and they appreciated the way that I handled the situation. And so the first month, I just went through one person, and then finally, they literally hand me a phone and say, "Here you go. You call me directly." And then it went from me going to them directly to where you want to make some money. This is what we need you to do. And I won't go into details, but this is what we need you to do. And that's what I would do. I would do what I need to do, and I'd make some money out of it. I was always had drugs ready to go any given day. I mean, I was never without. Like I wasn't. I was
Dangerous
supplied.
place to be for us.
Exactly. I was supplied 100%. And now mind you, I was still working a good job. I still had a lot of like I was making a lot of money
You had a
and
lot to lose too.
I had a lot to lose, exactly. But I was still doing that. And so it wasn't sloppy. Anyways, where it ended up getting sloppy was um this is stupid. This is the stupidest thing ever. So I was a service tech, and I'd be working on like water treatment systems, RO systems, and so in Phoenix, sorry, I hit my mic. In Phoenix, I was working at the Phoenix Coyotes stadium. The the ice rink. And so I was working on them, and then the manager comes up and he goes, "Here you go. Here's some free passes to go ice skating." I ain't never been ice skating a day in my life. So I said, "All right, cool." So I call up my wife at the
Especially in
time, and I'm like,
Arizona.
"Yeah, yeah, exactly." So I call my wife up at the time, and I'm like, "Hey, we're going ice skating tonight." And I got free tickets. Like, let's go. So we go ice skating. And we're there a couple hours and I get ready to leave. And she's like, "I'm done." I said, "Okay, I'm gonna do one more lap." And so I go to do one more lap. And here's this 5-year-old kid that cuts me off and knocks into me. And I fall and I break my hip.
Oh,
So worst pain imaginable. Worst pain. Um, I was constantly like I would have every hour and a half to every 2 hours, I was constantly having to, snort another 30 to get back now, and I was doing fentanyl, so I was doing fentanyl, I knew what it was, but I was doing it, um, I had to, and so I am, high out of my mind. I'm laying on the damn ice, I broke my hip, I didn't know I broke it at the time, but I had a feeling with the pain that it hurt. So I end up, I end up having to go to the hospital, I end up having to have surgery. And, my stash is at home. I only take like a few with me at a time. I never take more on me because if I get caught,
What's up, Jay? Love you, man.
And so, it was at home. So I was like, I had like 1 or 2 pills left and I was gonna have to be in the hospital for a couple of days because of my surgery. So I call my dealer up to bring me pills like while I'm in the hospital. So
Like a good addict.
yeah. So, they're shooting me up with morphine. And then I'm, in the meantime, I'm taking morphine, I'm taking fentanyl, and then they finally move off to getting me off of the morphine and they're just giving me pills. So what they would do is they would come in, they give me a pill, I'd hide it under my tongue, I'd wait for them to leave, and then I'd spit it out, crush it up, and I'd snort it. And that's when, I lost my job because I was hurt. My boss was just pretty much like, I can't I can't hold your position for a few months. And so I was out of work now. So mind you, I couldn't drive, so I couldn't go make money with the organization. I couldn't go to work and make money. So I started getting desperate. And that's when I started getting sloppy. I started pawning stuff and I started doing all kinds of stuff. But I I walk in one day, I go to re-up and I walk in to a certain situation and I get forced into forced into an ultimatum by these guys that they give me two options, this A or B. And I don't have a choice. And again, I used to tell this story in the past, but I have to watch how I say it. So I tell them I don't have a choice. I don't want to do it. And they're like, you don't have a choice. You have to do it. It's one or the other. And so I made the best decision I thought was possible. And that was like the day I was done with that because that scared the absolute living crap out of me because I'm like, well, listen, if they can do this to this person, they're going to do this to me. And I was
Yes.
out, like, I wasn't able to pay back my fronts anymore, I was getting in debt. I at one point, I had, like, 30 grand where I was, like, buying quads and buying, vehicles and going on vacations and going to Home Depot and spending 3 grand on tools, like, I was just being stupid, and, it got to a point where when I couldn't pay my fronts back, I had to sign titles over to my vehicles, I had to do all that, my house got broken into, they were looking for everything, and I would so I just had to make the decision to be done with it because I didn't wanna be involved in any of that no more. I knew that I was gonna end up dead, and it wasn't gonna be the drugs that was gonna kill me.
Yeah, you're
So
expendable.
yeah, exactly, so I know way too much about a lot. So I literally I pay everything back. And then I pack every single thing up that I owned and just moved 1,100 miles away to Texas and started my life over. So
Wow. Yeah,
it's
I lived in Phoenix for 8 years.
yeah.
I'm familiar with the
It's
whole
crazy, huh?
landscape. The whole landscape. I was in a different arena. I was cooking meth with bikers, but the the whole atmosphere of death and violence was just common, you know.
Yeah,
And
and
these
you
people
see it on a daily basis too.
they do not play. They do not play.
And that's the thing, like, people didn't understand, like, these aren't some, like, dime bag selling, teenagers off the side of the street, like, no, they're not, like, I mean, I'm sure
Organized,
people can catch my drift on what it was, and so
organized.
yeah, and it's crazy, and you don't mess with these people, like, these are the people you do not screw over, um, again, somebody screwed somebody over, and it resulted with they're no longer alive, and I'm like, "That could be me." I don't want I don't want any of that. Like, that could be me.
The
Eh
lure of easy money, right? As the song
ah,
goes.
easy come, easy go. That's what I've
Yeah,
heard, man. Easy come, easy go.
it's true. And dirty money never lasts.
Yeah, absolutely. Just cooking meth for
It's
bikers.
just a normal Wednesday cooking meth for the bikers.
Yeah, yeah.
It could have been a Monday or Tuesday.
Right, right. But it's just it's crazy. Now that I sit back and I look at it now, and I'm just like, thank God I made it out because
Yes.
I shouldn't have. 100%. By the grace of God, I'll say this. I've never been arrested. I've never been caught up. I have a clean background. Thank God.
Good for
Um,
you.
but I
I do
shouldn't.
not.
But that's the thing, bro. I shouldn't. I really, really shouldn't.
So, what made you decide to give recovery a shot?
Well, basically, when my ex wife found out everything, like everything, um, I had 3 kids, and like she gave me an ultimatum, like drugs are drugs are us, and my kids are my everything, like absolutely my everything. And I said, you know what? Everything else in my life hasn't worked out to this up to this point, so why not try it? I tried. It took me about 2 months before I officially got sober. The first 2 months were brutal because, I know everybody. I know all the hookup spots, like, I know everybody knows me, so I wouldn't make it past 24 hours because it was either A, they were calling me like, "Yo, you need," or B, I was waking up at 2 a.m. in pajamas and boxers and no shoes and hop in the car and leave. It got so bad to the point that my ex had to like hide the keys at night. She had to hide money, like in certain places, because like literally she'd like wake up to go to the bathroom, and by the time she came out, I was in the car and I was already down the road. Um,
That obsession and craving is real, isn't it?
I mean, I remember showing up to my dealer's house at like 3 a.m., just pounding on his damn window, you know, and I get there and I'm just like, and finally he's the one that ended up telling me, "Dude, you have a problem." I'm like, for my own dealer to tell me that I have a problem, like, and this was somebody that I used with on a daily basis, and
Yeah.
finally showing up and he's just like, "Brother, you have an issue."
Tim Lodgen says this was your path, brother. You had to live in the darkness to appreciate the light. Amen.
Absolutely.
Tim's going to be on with me this Saturday. Y'all need to tune in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I agree, Tim. A lot of people don't understand my journey because they've never been into that type of environment, especially even when
Hmm.
it comes down to the organized stuff. Um, p- it's one thing to use drugs, and it's one thing to use drugs and be involved in that. And
Right.
some people have never been so. The stories that I have, or the things that I've seen, or the things I've had to do that weren't by choice. People are like, "Dude, there's no way," and I'm just like, "But it is, and it's my story. Unfortunately,
So
I
far,
had to
so
live that."
far from recreational use.
Exactly, and so they
It's
just don't
crazy
under they
absurd.
don't understand it because they've never been introduced to that type of world. So to them, it's like move stuff you see in the movies,
Hmm.
but in all reality, you would know too, if you're with, like Hell's Angels and the bikers and different things like that. Like people know that like that type of life and that type of crime and all that. Oh, it's a whole nother ball game. But people that
It's
haven't been
life and
involved in
death
it,
every second of every day.
yep. And a lot of it is not by choice at all.
Absolutely. But once you survive it for a while, that kind of becomes an addiction all its own because
Yeah.
living on the edge, that adrenaline,
Mm.
the feeling that I survived,
What
because
got me in it, which I was comfortable getting into it, was because growing up, I was used to seeing drugs and money and all that. Like I'm half Hispanic. All right, I lived in Mexico for a while. My family, a lot of my family is involved in a lot of that type of environment. So I was used to like being like 8, 9, 10 years old and having my cousins come up from Mexico with, a couple $100,000 worth of marijuana or this or that, and and that was something I saw regularly. So growing up, like that was normal for me. So when I got involved in all this, that was normal for me. Like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is a whole nother world. I was comfortable because I saw I saw stuff growing up, you know,
Right.
and
You
unfortunately,
were conditioned
exactly.
for it. So I want to read what Shay says. Shay says, "Look, man, drugs and alcohol was my life for 30 plus years. I couldn't do it anymore, and now sobriety is my life. I wouldn't be who I am today if I was still out there. 11 years sober here. Congratulations, Shay. I love you,
Congrats.
bro. It's good
Awesome.
to see you in the comments. Yeah, Brianna said the lifestyle is addicting too. It surely is.
You know, it took a while. It took a while to break that, even though like I got out of that. It did take a while to break that cycle. But I gave
Prison saved my life too.
and I gave recovery a shot because everything in my life was not going well. I was on the verge of losing my kids. I was on the verge of all that. So here I am, and I'm just like, listen, this is the only thing I have left is recovery. And so I didn't want to be known as the brother or the son that went out due to this, you know? Like I didn't want to be another stereotypical statistic type thing. And so I gave it, we sold everything literally in 2 weeks. Sold everything that we owned and left to Texas with garbage bags of clothes.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And life completely turned around from there. We went with no job, no place to live. Literally, we were going to an extended stay hotel with 1,200 bucks, and all within 3 days, we had an apartment. I had a full time job. Like everything literally fell into place, all within the first week of being there. And it happened because I literally picked up and moved 1,100 miles away. And for me, people, places,
Beautiful
things.
story.
I had to change. Some people, they can get sober in the same environment that they were sick in. Not me. Not me
I can't. I
whatsoever.
couldn't either.
I had to leave because I failed every single time that I tried. And I give people
I
the props.
That's why I moved out of South Florida back
Yeah.
home to the Midwest because I just could not. I was in that shuffle, the constant cycle. I do well, fall back. I had to get a fresh start too, and that's okay.
Mm.
So, what do you belong to a fellowship? What does your recovery look like?
So no, I don't do a fellowship. That's just me. I've done NA and AA. Personally, it doesn't work for me. That's just me
Yeah,
personally. When I first got into my recovery, it was Celebrate Recovery, uh, which was more of a faith based,
for sure.
which I'm not like a religious person, but I'm spiritual and whatnot. I believe in
Same.
God, and so um, I don't care what anybody says. Like God's hand had everything to do with me in my recovery.
Everything.
But so that's what I did, and that's what I started going to. As I got more into my recovery, I didn't go as much, but I'll be honest with you, my my recovery base this podcast does amazing wonders for my recovery personally as well. Um,
Sure.
Talking to people 4 times a week, doing lives, um, it helps. Do I with Brianna. Like it just helps keep. Like, that's a meeting for me. That's a meeting for me. There's days I have a bad day, horrible day. I don't wanna record, but I still do it, and at the end of it, I'm like, "Wow, that's you know what? I feel great."
I'm glad I
So
did that.
I don't do meetings as much as I should. I'll be honest to that, but I still keep my accountability going with everyone else around me and, through the podcast and whatnot, and I man, with me doing with me working full time, um, doing this, editing, all this, I don't have time for anything else. I don't have time to go, to use or anything like that.
That's a
So
great.
it's just me staying busy, and staying busy is the biggest thing. Brianna mentioned something before. When we were doing an episode with somebody, she was telling me how when I was in Phoenix, so I was in Oregon when I met Brianna. I was in Oregon, and I started the podcast there, and I moved back to Phoenix for a brief period of time. When I moved back to Phoenix, that's the first time I had moved back since my whole recovery started, and I was super nervous. My anxiety was out the roof. That kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier today. My anxiety was super, super out the roof. I wasn't really like I thought I was okay. Like I was like, I didn't have cravings. I was good, but my anxiety was bad. And I started getting mad panic attacks. And I hadn't dealt with anxiety and panic attacks in a long time. I stopped getting in panic attacks when I got sober. Like, it went away, my
Right.
anxiety. So when I moved back, it was just like it just hit me. So I was so busy. I mean, I constantly had to keep myself go, 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 go. If I wasn't at work, I was at a meeting. If I wasn't at meeting, I was riding my motorcycle. I mean, it was constantly. When I moved out here to New York, I was able to relax, and I was able to just breathe. And she said, she mentioned, she goes, Jared went from having to be 100 miles an hour in Phoenix to coming out here, and he can actually relax and breathe. And I don't feel like I have to constantly keep my guard up for like all these different things. But
Absolutely.
the anxiety hit me. The anxiety hit me bad where I had to go to a doctor, and I had to start, and I had, it was just like, and again, that was a whole nother, that became a whole nother story, but it was just, I thought I was okay, but in
Mhm.
reality, I wasn't, because my anxiety just started getting so bad about living back there. But now I can breathe. Oh, I can breathe. I can breathe. I don't have to worry about. I can just sit back and just enjoy, watch TV. I can just do something. Before, I couldn't do that because I had to constantly keep my mind off of wanting to use. I had to constantly do
Relatable.
that. Yep.
Relatable for sure. So we were talking earlier today.
Mm.
Recovery is a beautiful thing, and but we have a lot of old habits and patterns that we have ingrained in us. Recovery is not sunshine and rainbows all the time,
Yeah.
but given the alternative,
Right.
it's easier to deal with life stresses and traumas in a
Hmm.
in a clean and sober state of mind, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I use like this my situation when I was as you can be in recovery. Unfortunately, like, you could be in recovery and still be a crappy person. And I was like, I didn't want to be. That was a situation that I went through, and it was just like, people think, man, you get sober and your life is amazing, and everything is just like perfect. And I'm just like, no, no, not
No.
even like. And so for me, like, I had to learn how to deal with life on life's terms, and doing it without being on a substance and this, that, and the third. And like I said, my
Hey Joe.
anxiety was a big thing for me. It was a huge thing for me. Um, I dealt with crippling anxiety my whole life up until I got sober, and then it went away. And then all of a sudden it comes back after 4 years.
Mm,
Now I don't deal with any of it. I mean, I'm 100%. It's been well over a year since I've had to be on any type of anxiety medication or anything. So, now I don't have
fantastic.
I don't have to. But when I was there, I did. And I don't know if that's just me being back in my old environment or what.
Yeah, there's a lot of stress to being in an environment where you were doing too much. You're involved
Mhm.
with everything. Just the whole environment, it can be stress inducing. Um, where can people find the blacklist?
Yeah. So, our website, theblacklistpodcast.com, BLAKLIST. Um, it has the links to everything, all our socials. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Brianna,
Spotify.
can you drop that for us where
Yeah,
people can find you guys?
yeah. Can you drop the link, Ben? Um, so yeah,
Thank you for being
theblacklistpodcast.com.
here too, Brianna.
The cool thing too is she's always like every live that I do, if I'm on a guest on someone else's, like she's there. She's like always there, like supporting. So um they do the actual website. Um so she's there supporting all the time. Like she's a huge part of my recovery. Um I thought I got divorced and my kids moved away and everything, and like I wasn't sure which way life was going to go for me. But for the last year and a half has been she's been a big support for me, and she's helped kick me into gear at times, and like, yeah, you need to do therapy or this or that or the third. So um but yeah, there it is, the blacklistpodcast.com. We
There
drop
you go.
we drop episodes, was every Monday and Friday. As of right now, it's just going to be every Friday for the next few months. And then
What time Fridays? I'd like to tune
7
in.
p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
And we have an intake form on our website. If you go to the website and you go to the contact form, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's an intake form. If anybody would like to be a guest on there, they can fill that out, fill all their information out. Somebody from our team will get back. Even if you just want to reach out, you just need some help or resources. We help offer resources as well, to facilities and whatnot. So if
In your area or nationally?
so in our area, and I mean just essentially everywhere. Like
It's
if I have
good
a
to know. I'm
connection,
always looking for resources.
yeah, and like we don't do it as much, but we're branching more into it. But if somebody comes, like, I know 4 people in Florida, like, you and multiple others, and I can just be like, here, do this, that, and the third. So but there's a tab on there. They can go in there. They can just send us a general email if you need help with anything. Just like Brianna says, we do lives every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We collaborate with Ashes to Awesome, and that's the Black Ash Radio. Brianna and another mother is starting a mom talk on Sundays. They're going to be doing a live on Sundays talking about
Good
moms in
stuff.
recovery.
Good
So,
stuff.
and then of course,
Very cool.
Facebook. I got my personal Jared Blaine Quijada, but everything else, that's the only personal social media I have. Everything else that I have is for the blacklist.
Some Andrea says
Love
love
Ash.
Ashes
Yeah.
to Awesome.
Andrea is always every Friday. She's always there. What's up, Cooley?
Hey, cool. Hey,
Cooley's
Cooley.
tuning in from our YouTube. So good guy, doing some good
Very
stuff over
nice.
there.
Okay, so we're coming up on the hour. What words of encouragement can you give somebody out there struggling? To maybe want to reach out for help, want to change the path they're on.
Just do it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take that step. A lot of people are afraid of being the judgment and whatnot, but at the end of the day, um,
Hey, Skip. Skip's my sponsor. Hi.
hey Skip, thanks for hopping on. But at the end of the day, is put that foot in front of you, and put the other foot right in front of that, and keep just get yourself accountability. Get yourself an accountability, whether it's in a meeting, it's a sponsor, friends, just somebody. But just reach out, pick up the phone. That's my biggest thing, is pick up the phone. Um, Especially early on in recovery, if you're struggling, pick up that phone. Find somebody that can find somebody. What's up,
Hey,
Chris?
Chris.
AKA Mr. LaFlange. So,
Love Flan.
but at the end of the day, pick up the phone and call somebody. If you're struggling, call. That's the biggest thing. Relapse doesn't happen overnight. It's a long process that starts. But again, at the end of the day, is I treat every day as if it's a day one. I don't care if I've got a year sober, 4 years sober, 20 years sober. Every day needs to be like day one, because as much as I want to say, hey, I'd love to be sober 20 years from now, I can only guarantee today, this moment.
Let's do it today. Let's do it
And
today.
I have a desire, and I would that's my goal, is to be sober that long. But but oh, you're back on that. Cool, Chuck. But on the end of the day, we only have today to look forward to. So pick up that phone if you're struggling, keep that accountability, and treat every day as if it's day one.
Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing your perspective and your journey through recovery. I believe there are multiple pathways to recovery. There are
Yeah.
more than one way to
Right.
get clean and sober. You know, not everybody feels comfortable in 12-step meetings or going to church or whatnot. There's so many different pathways these days. So find experiment, find a pathway to recovery that works for you.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people on the same path as you that have been through similar situations and are living a life free from substances and all the collateral damage, because you and I have both had our fair share of collateral damage and
Hmm.
consequences, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And honestly, I love this life. I love recovery. I love recovery. I love the people that I've met through this podcast and through everything. I love it. And my life wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for recovery.
Me too, bro. Thank you for taking the time to jump on here. Hey, Colleen, it's good to see you, my friend in PA.
Nice. Hey, Colleen. Yeah, hop over. Anybody that's watching, hop over to our Facebook, and
Please
give it a like and
give
a
them a
follow.
follow as well. You
And
know,
anybody from our page, go over to Higgy's, follow him, show him some love. He's got multiple pages. He's doing some good stuff.
thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm truly glad we had the opportunity to catch up
Yeah.
on here and get your story. You know, there's going a lot of comments in the interaction in the comments.
Yeah.
A lot of valuable advice, man. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for all that you do for our community and all the hard work you're putting into, because it's paying dividends. You know, we may not see it, you know, in a grand scale right away, but as we continue to grow and build and
Mhm.
people get sober, that's the reward for all of us, you know, and the love and affection we have for each other. So
Mhm.
thank you again for being here. Everyone go check out the Blacklist on YouTube, Facebook. Are you doing the on Instagram yet?
Yeah, we're Instagram and TikTok. Everything is
Okay.
at the Blacklist Podcast except for Facebook, because for some reason, Ashes the Awesome thought it would be nice for me to drop the podcast on the Blacklist. So Facebook is the Blacklist. Everything else is the Blacklist Podcast.
Okay, great. Thanks everybody for being here. Hey guys, tune in Saturday when my guest will be Tim Lodgen. He's a veteran and former MMA fighter. Awesome story. He's got a huge following on Instagram. Uh, yeah, I want you guys to have a great night. Um, let's just keep trudging, y'all. All right. So good night, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
being here.